This session is going to be moderated by Rodney Fuller. Rodney is a former U.S. Air Force service member. Rodney, we appreciate and we honor your service. After he got out of the service, Rodney worked for the Department of Homeland Security as a U.S. cyber analyst and incident handler. Rodney is also an active member of the Stratford University Computer Information Systems Advisory Board. And our association with Rodney goes back a few years. Rodney's main role these days is running a business by which he performs independent third-party assessments of organizations, specifically government organizations' compliance with national standards. So we heard FISMA mentioned earlier today. We developed at the CJCC an information technology security program based upon FISMA, and Rodney was the external auditor who came in, reviewed it, and gave us a clean bill of health. So, ladies and gentlemen, Rodney Fuller.
Hello, everyone. So, I'll just be frank. About 10 years ago, if you would have asked me what the cloud is, I would have said, hey, come on, let's go outside, I'll show you what a cloud is. You know, but now, today, you can't watch television without seeing at least 5 or 6 commercials advertising cloud technologies and all of the different benefits. Everyone's on the cloud. It's the way of the future. Many organizations are moving away from the legacy technologies, the older data center type models, and they're moving more towards virtualization and sharing data and moving more towards these collaborative environments. And I think that that's a great thing. So, you know, in a nutshell, you know, I look at cloud as being basically internet-based computing using a browser. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. And being able to get to your data and work along with your other organizations in a collaborative fashion using this technology. So there's 3 main types of cloud environments, and I'll briefly just touch on infrastructure as a service. There's also platform as a service and software as a service. When we talk infrastructure as a service, that applies to data backups and things like storage. Platform as a service, this is where organizations can actually develop their own custom applications. And when I think about being able to develop custom apps and have those on the cloud, there's certain things that need to be taken into account as far as compatibility issues. You wouldn't want to transition a custom application to the cloud if this application is 5 years old, is unsupported, if the author of the custom source code is no longer around. It's a possibility when this application is on a cloud platform, it's a possibility that it may not be compatible when systems are upgraded. So just something to keep in mind. Incompatibility or compatibility issues could become a problem when we talk platform as a service. Then software as a service. This is the best part of the cloud, in my opinion. This is where all the collaboration happens. This is where all the collaborative tools exist. And what it does is it simply increases efficiency. When you think about in a traditional legacy architecture, a network, you have to open up a Word document, save it to a share, and before anyone could access it, you have to close it. They go in and then they make edits, and then it's available once again. Well, in a cloud environment, that collaboration is much more efficient. You know, documents can be updated almost in real time by multiple users and multiple sources. So, this technology definitely is moving collaboration and information sharing in a good direction. So one thing also I'd like to talk about when it comes to cloud really briefly. I thought of a scenario. We have a heart patient who's sitting at home, and they can hook up sensors to their body to monitor, certain vital statistics. These sensors can be through Bluetooth technology. It can be transmitted to the individual's smartphone. That smartphone application can connect to the cloud, in which a doctor can monitor and provide guidance to that heart patient. So essentially what I'm saying is the cloud technology can be used to save lives as well. I mean, the level of collaboration is very impressive. So recently there was an executive order that was signed that promotes the cloud adaptation. And what it does, it holds departments and agencies accountable for cybersecurity risk within their enterprise, and also instructs them to modernize their IT and implement risk management measures in accordance with the National Institute of Standards and Technologies. I know you may have heard the term NIST or FISMA before, but everything right at this point is moving more towards that type of compliance. I'm a security professional, and basically this is the guidance that I follow. Now with the cloud, along comes certain pros, and then there's certain cons. Some of the pros would be scalability. Your data within the cloud, the capacity is capable of being grown right along with your business and your mission, your business functions. It also saves money. We talk a little bit about data security. There's a lot of redundancy within the cloud. There's strong encryption and integrity of your data. And also collaboration within the cloud. Data can be shared from pretty much anywhere in the world. Now, some of the cons really quickly. We've had several high-profile security breaches, within the media. I'm sure some of us have saw that. And availability within the cloud is not always 100% promised. And that really goes down to if you provision any type of cloud services, it's really important that your service level agreements with that cloud service provider outlines and details down very specifically as to what you need to, the level of service you need to be receiving. And with that said, I would like to go ahead and introduce our distinguished panel. Today we have with us Ms. Yuan Burns. She has been the Chief Information Officer for the DC Court since 2008. And prior to becoming the CIO, Yuan served as the Acting Chief Information Officer in 2007 and Chief Technology Officer, Deputy CIO of the courts in 2006. In her current role as the CIO, she works with the executive team of the courts to provide technical leadership, vision, and experience. She acquires, develops, and maintains all of the court's mission-critical information systems and resources. Additionally, we have Damme, correction. He is the CIO for the Department of Youth Rehabilitation Services. He has been with the district government since 2001 and has also held roles as Deputy CIO at the Metropolitan Police Department and Deputy Director for the Office of the Chief Technology Officer. He has been with DYRS since 2013. Also on our panel is Temin. Tom is a broadcaster, writer, editor, and consultant who brings more than 36 years of business-to-business media experience to clients in media and information technology products and services. Tom is host and managing editor of the Federal Drive with Tom Temin, a weekday morning news and talk program on Federal News Radio, 1500 AM in Washington, D.C. Tom reports on and analyzes the latest news affecting the federal government and government contractors and the community in which they operate. So at this time, I'd like to open the panel up. I'd like to bring on Ms. Yuan Burns, Chief Information Officer, the D.C. Superior Court.
Thank you. Thank you, Rodney. So, my name is Yuan Burns. I'm the CIO of DC Courts. I only put a few slides here just to have a very basic introduction of cloud computing. So, what is a cloud computing? It's not just a racehorse. Anybody get that? You know, recently a horse won the Preakness, I think, Preakness race, and his name is cloud computing. So cloud computing is really a new name for an old concept. We all know that in the past we have you know, utilities, even to this day, we have a utility service, right? And that is actually a kind of cloud computing. So it's being evolved from, you know, the grid computing to utility computing and to as software as a service, like Rodney said. And you know, I can pretty much, you know, safe to say everybody has been in this room has used software as a service. Typical example is Gmail. Everybody has a Gmail account, yeah. And the cloud computing, in my view, is the next generation of internet computing. Is the next generation of data center. So federal government are moving aggressively to the data center approach. Rodney mentioned National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST. And NIST is an organization under Department of Commerce. And they created a lot of standards, and they did a lot of research. They came up with those standards based on their research and make sure that's a cost-effective way and is doable, realistic. And also take into consideration of his FISMA requirements. So they are saying there's 5 characteristics of the cloud computing. One is on-demand self-service, and broad network access, resource pooling. You know, statistics shows 80% of, in a particular data center, 80% of servers are idle a lot of times because, you know, you purchase all these, not every applications are used by the enterprise. Some are just used by a few people, but you invested in the courts environment. We invested about 150 servers, and lots of the servers, most of the time, they're idle. So with the cloud approach is you only acquire service when you need that service. So you don't have to invest in a computer which will be idle most of the time. And rapid elasticity means like you can use resources on demand. Basically, if you have a need to use a resource, or you can shrink that usage, and everything can be measured. So it's like you know, how many volumes and transactions you use, and you will get a bill for that. And the cloud has 4 deployment models. One is a public cloud. Public cloud is the provider supplies one or more cloud computing services to a large group of people. and individual people, individual organizations. And private cloud is, a network, a private network provided, used by only one agency. So a lot of agency has a very highly sensitive data, and they have a need for a private cloud. Community cloud is a group of organizations with similar requirements. And of course, currently have our financial system, HR, and procurement information, a community cloud hosted by Department of Interior. And hybrid cloud is somewhat mix of all these kind of cloud environment. And cloud, and Rodney also mentioned, cloud has three service models. We have software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service. The way I look at that is the level of the degree of visibility and degree of administrative control, how much control you can have, right? Service and software as a service, you don't have much control at all. You just view the software, you use the software when you need it. With the platform as a service, you can use the language they provided, you use the platform operating system they provided, and you can develop your software with that language and have them to deploy that into the cloud. Infrastructure, which the court currently has an infrastructure as a service model, and we actually can provision servers in the cloud. And just like we do in our data center, we can provision servers, and when the applications group wanted to go live with the project, they can ask the SAs to provision in the cloud easily, whatever SQL Server, database server, or web applications on web server, and we provision that way. So that's called infrastructure as a service. So cloud considerations, cost, of course, we actually, when we promoted cloud computing, we actually did a cost and benefits analysis, and compared to the current data center, we have a current data center, we also have a DR site, and we have a third thing is a tape. So, you duplicate stuff into three different things. So when J.J. Leibowitz was talking about this morning about evidence, so think about evidence. If we want to keep retention really long, and that will be in three different places. So multiply that terabytes of data by 3. So if we are using the current data center infrastructure. So the cost and benefits analysis is very important. And I would say the cost also you need to look at 5 years total of ownership, total cost of ownership. So that way you can evaluate, because your own data center, typically you have a capital investment, right? And then going the years after that, you will only pay the maintenance for license fees and what have you. But in the cloud is you don't have that capital investment, but your usage might increase. So the years going forward, you might pay more than the first year. So it's a different model. You have to really be careful about that when you do the cost analysis. Efficiency, energy efficiency. Of course, our DR side, it costs us a lot because you have to pay the rack place, rental, and also energy. And if we can eliminate that and we put it in the cloud, we don't have to pay that. Availability, of course, they have 24 hours. And with the availability, what you need to think about is your internet becomes like a single point of failure. Because you don't have internet, you can't connect it to the cloud. Guess what you don't have availability. So you need to think about how to do redundancy for your infrastructure, the internet access. Agility is always a positive thing for the cloud. You can increase, it's a service on demand, so you can add gradually. Security, to me, is a concern. As you know, for local and state agencies, we're not required to comply with FISMA, right? So some state local agencies, they go to the commercial cloud. Now, when you say commercial cloud, you could be your data could be in another country, and so security is a huge concern in that case. Now, the DC courts, we are committed to the Microsoft Azure government cloud. Now, when you do government cloud, you have to be in compliance with FISMA, because government cloud is a FedRAMP certified space, and it's guaranteed your data will be in a country, and you can pick and choose. You want it to be on the East Coast data centers or West Coast or whatever mix. You have a choice of those. Reliability, another consideration, and the privacy. So a lot of, we have a judges, so judges a lot of concerns about the data privacy. Some of our data are publicly accessible, and those are no question about it, but other data are very sensitive. So we want to sort of keep it secure. So as a CIO, and I just say that the CIO's role here to present cloud computing to the senior management, you need to be able to articulate the benefits, considerations, and drawbacks of the cloud computing. My thing is I want to be transparent. If there is a drawback, I need to make sure that the senior management knows that too. Providing a decision framework and do a case analysis, cost and benefits analysis, to make sure that you have a 5-year plan and what the cost looks like for first year and all the way to the 5th year. Highlighting cloud computing implementation resources. So what is needed to implement that? The beginning is always tough because you probably don't have the skill set in your department, and it's a learning curve for everybody. And security is a concern. So you might have to have a third party to come in, look at your security posture, and to see what needs to be done before you can move to the cloud. And also identifying government agencies' activities, responsibilities, and after we moved to the cloud. And so this is a DC course vision. So we are committed to the, cloud computing. We want to increase the course mission effectiveness and operational efficiency by leveraging the Microsoft Azure cloud, which is FedRAMP certified. Now, FedRAMP has 2 areas. The FedRAMP certified, is based on FISMA and so on. But also, if you have CGIS data, FBI data, and so on, you want to have additional certification for CGIS. So on top of the government cloud, you have another certification you need to go through. The courts we don't have those kind of data, so Microsoft Azure government is good for us. And we want to consolidate the IT functions and to save some money on human and capital expenditures. So eventually we probably can reduce our staff resource internally, also capital investment on hardware. So we want to reduce the physical data center footprint and potentially eliminate the DR site. Currently we have, which is 30 miles away, is not far enough. If something is going on in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area, we don't have data. So this is something, another drive for us to go to the cloud. So we wanted to, first we want to move to utilize the Office 365 and also decommission our email service. And build all the servers. We already have our CTO already have the guideline for the technical departments groups. They cannot ask for a physical server now unless there's a justification for it. So every new server will be provisioned in virtualized environment. Why virtualized environment? It's because virtualized environment you can go to the cloud very easily. You can move to the cloud, okay? And so our vision is in 2022, actually, 2022, we will host 80% of our IT infrastructure in the cloud. So that's the course vision. Our roadmap is that we first need to identify what are the applications, services can be on the virtualized environment. And then we're going to virtualize all the in-house systems and then gradually move to the cloud. So those challenges we're facing, I have more challenges to talk about when we open up for questions. So the very high level, meeting the security requirements is one of the challenges. And also overcoming cultural barriers. If you recall when we go from paper to no paper, do we have sort of cultural barrier? Because if you don't see, even myself, I went through that when the bank said no more paper. I'm like, I need to point it out that. Even today, pay stubs. I need to point out that, maybe, someday, it happens last week. Actually, we lost all the leave, accumulated leave. Somehow, something happened in the cloud. So I thought, okay, I didn't point it out, so what does that mean to me, right? So there's a cultural barrier. When you go to the cloud, you're not seeing your server day to day. You're not seeing your data. Are they safe? Are they still there? Or did anybody modify it? So there's a lot of concern about that. And meeting the network infrastructure requirements, right? So you want a certain way, certain operating system, and you kind of lose that control. And having appropriate expertise in procurement is very, very important. And I just want to share with you, we have a community cloud, as I mentioned to you before. Our procurement data, HR data, and also the financial data are now in the community cloud hosted by DOI. However, at the very beginning, we just said, okay, we want our data back one day because we have this BI data warehouse. We want to consolidate those data, sort of making queries against the case management system, against the other systems. But what we didn't put down is very clear clauses in the contract. How we could get those data back. So now it becomes an issue. Now we cannot get this data back, and they want to charge us tons of money for getting our own data back. So procurement is very important for service level agreement. And in the cloud environment, you actually transfer some of the security risks to the cloud provider. Now you need to make sure those are in the contract So you can hold them accountable for that. And that's what I feel like our procurement group is also learning as we go. And so it's very important every time you find some articles, send to them as well, some training that they need to, GSA's guidelines. And recently I sent it to our procurement department, the GSA guidelines for cloud computing environment. So anyway, with that, I am going to, give that back to Rodney, so, asking questions and so on.
Thank you, Yuan. Thank you very much for that information, and thought it was really good that you made the comment about the service level agreements. That is a very, very important document when it comes to making a decision to provision cloud services. You always need a document to be able to go back to from a legal standpoint, when it comes to your level of service that you are actually receiving. So next up on our panel, we have Aki Damme. Aki, I'd like to turn the table over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to talk very quickly about our migration at DYRS from a server-based system that was internal to DC government to the cloud. The reasons most people go and move to a cloud-based application is either because their application is a legacy application, or it's difficult to manage, or it's expensive. Fortunately for us, we hit the trifecta. So we looked at that and said, what can we do to fix this application? Because obviously that's the first thing you're going to do. What is the cheapest thing I can do? Maybe I can fix this application so everybody's happy. When we looked at that, we realized that when this application was purchased, we did a heavy amount of customization. So to be blunt, it sucked. We had a very difficult time trying to make any modifications, and the way that the code was written, only the vendor could do anything with it. And every time we wanted to generate just a unique report, it was $10,000. So I went out and I talked to a lot of the employees who work on this system. This system is a case management system. The system is based basically just to be able to go and put in case notes that the social workers go and accumulate when they go and work with their youth. And there was some other information in there as far as assessments and yada yada. But the thing is what it boiled down to is as our agency started to evolve, we couldn't get this application to move along with us. And so when I looked at the cost and the complaints that we had from the employees and how difficult it was to manage and how to navigate, I decided that we had to do something else. And quite honestly, I was not looking for a cloud application. At the time, the thought of even having a cloud-based application for something as sensitive to juvenile justice data was pretty much off the table. And when I looked across the DC government, I realized that my time at MPD and at Octo, and as well as DYRS, I realized that justice as well, that a lot of the law enforcement and any other type of real sensitive information, whether it's HIPAA or PHI or whatever, was always internal to DC government, which created a lot of problems if you have people like we do who are contractors or providers that have to access the same system, but they aren't in the DC government, nor do they have DC government accounts. So we had to create a lot of gateways and VPNs and remote type of connections, secure connections using different layers of LDAP just to be able to get these people in. So we needed some other application. And what I did was I just started looking around. And of course, one of the things that I do is I don't want to reinvent the wheel, so I started calling other social services agencies throughout the states. And one particular application kept coming up over and over again. But this was a cloud-based application. So I said, okay, let's take a look at it. And through the course of several months of discussions, both with the vendor and Octo, because one of the primary concerns I had, of course, was security, we decided to purchase this application. And for any of you out there that think that a migration from a internal hardware-based platform within DC government to a cloud-based application on the outside is simple, you're at the wrong place. You need to go to Disneyland, because that is not the case. It was expensive, it was difficult, it was painful, and every employee in the agency was resistant to change. And you will get that from every employee. They don't want to change. No matter how bad the current application is, guess what? They like it just that way. So, what's going to happen is that when you go to a new application, you're going to get a lot of resistance, and things are going to change. When you go to a cloud-based application, just like when you migrate to any other new application from a legacy application, you're going to have problems, things that you've never thought about, things that are going to cost you a lot more money than you budgeted for, and no matter how well you do it, within 6 or 8 months, you're going to redo it again. And the main reason why is because you're growing with this new application. And as you grow with this application, you're going to find out the things you thought was really important, you can't live without, is now going to be jettisoned because nobody ever wanted it in the first place. So, always budget for more than what you expect, plan for longer than you expect, and please get buy-in from your superiors that this application or this migration is going to be difficult. It's going to be something that you need to take the time to do it right. Because there is absolutely nothing worse than launching an application in production that's still in development. It's kind of like trying to put all 4 tires on a car while it's going 60 miles an hour. It just can't be done. And of course, we had some hurdles. Security was one of them. And we worked very closely with Octo to outline all their security concerns and work with our vendor. Unfortunately, our vendor has a long history of working with federal partners as well as government partners. In fact, their application is used for example, LA County, the entire state of Nebraska, most of Michigan, and now they're expanding out to foreign countries. And yes, their data centers are in the United States, and they have 2 of them. And they're redundant, so if one fails, it goes right over to the other. As was discussed, one of the things you have to be concerned about is you're going to be going on the internet. And if you're on the internet, you have no control of internet availability. There are so many things that could possibly go wrong. You will have downtime because you can't control the internet. You have to weigh that against the availability and the criticality of the application and the cost comparisons between having something like that internal. When I looked at the cloud-based applications, I realized that the initial investment, you will pay a lot, probably more than what your current application on whatever platform you have is going to cost. However, your ROI over the course of 3 to 5 years is going to start to get much better. And over the course of time after 5 years, you'll be well ahead, most likely, of what your annual expenditures are on your existing platform, and that's important to know. Also training. Remember, any application that you get, any cloud-based application that you migrate to is going to require training. Make sure that you add that additional cost and time in. And also, too, something that I really didn't think too much about at the time because I was pretty myopic on what I thought that the application needed to do for us, but maybe through luck, I don't know. This particular application is very flexible about plugging in external data sources. That's really important to look at in the beginning, because what you think may not be important right now, later on maybe. We have talked to Justice about information sharing, and that's very important. We also information share against an external electronic medical records database now. And we're going to be moving forward as we and DC government evolve with information sharing that we'll be able to plug in. This same application in the state of Nebraska, for example, has a little over 7,000 users, and they have over 20,000 different databases that are connected externally to it. So that's a lot, and that's something to think about. No, it's not free. You have to pay for those data connections. But it's something that's important that you have the flexibility in your cloud-based application to do that. And of course, what was already mentioned is make sure that that data is yours. Because if you decide that this is just a white elephant, or you found something bigger, better, faster, cheaper, make sure that the information is stored in a way that it can be easily exported and imported into another application. And The biggest challenge that we had with in migrating to the cloud wasn't the cloud migration itself, it was migrating the data we had from the legacy system. Because that legacy system was awful. The database in it was perfect for that application, but extremely hard to export out and map. Because, for example, and I'm just making this up, but in the new application, eye color for brown is BRN. It's a simple data element. In the previous application, the data element name for brown was CXRYN-2XY exclamation point. And there may have been exactly the same thing except without an exclamation point, maybe an ampersand at the end, and that meant height. So it was very difficult to map everything and move everything over. So that's something else to consider as well. Allow time for new data migration. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have a panelist here with us, Temin. Tom, I'm going to hand the floor over to you.
Okay, thank you. Good to be here. On a personal note, I just want to say how great it is to hear from and be able to talk a little bit to the DC government. I spent all of 25 years with the federal government, but as someone whose family dates back in the District of Columbia to about 1900, it's really great to talk in this manner. And so congratulations on all the work that you're doing on behalf of the citizens of DC. And I'm proud to say my daughter is a proud resident of DC, working for Fannie Mae and living in the district and loving it. So she's traveling almost the same footsteps as my mother did nearly a century ago. So that's great. The other thing is, we're just maybe to take this up for a moment to the context that we're all operating in, and that is the power and majesty of an independent and quality judiciary is probably the United States among its 10 greatest contributions to the world. In fact, you may be aware of the Service to America Medals program that is administered through the Partnership for Public Service every year to outstanding federal employees. One of the recipients this year is a man named Mr. Smyber, who works at the Justice Department. He's stationed in Albania, a former communist country. One of the biggest impediments to development of that country is that they have a crooked judiciary. It's corrupt. And so he has painstakingly been doing work there to try to develop an independent judiciary commission. And over time, they hope to migrate what they have now to a judicial system similar to what we have in the United States. So what you're doing is not just a bunch of technology, but it is really foundational to the service of all the citizens. So I just felt that should be said before we move on. A little bit about the federal context for cloud computing. By the way, if you want to see that executive order, just simply go to section 1, paragraph C, subsection 6, subparagraph capital A. And that's where it says what the Trump administration is simply reiterating a policy of cloud first when legal and possible and within secure parameters. And I would argue the cloud mandate, which goes back to 2011, it's a creature of the Obama administration, which the Trump administration has embraced, as it has most of those IT initiatives, is an enabler of greater security. And I know we've had the federal certification, the FedRAMP process, and all this talk about security, but in answer to the worries about cloud security, I would offer this: the Office of Personnel Management, losing the records of 22 million cleared federal and former federal employees. Lord only knows where and when that data will be used or how it will be used. And so if that's an example of security without the cloud, I think a lot of agencies are saying, give me the cloud. So NSA, CIA, horrible losses repeatedly, almost every week it seems. So if anything, the cloud, I think, is an argument for greater security. It's an IT cost control, it's an operational efficiency move, it gives you flexibility, it can improve response time by having virtualized machines located in geographically significant servers around the world. It's all of those things, as you've heard, but it's also a policy enabler. It's a way for agencies to collaborate with one another. Who in here codes? Anybody a coder? And I could tell you were a coder, you look the part. But, you know, more and more coding is coming back to government agencies through whiz kids, if you will. There's a bunch of them at the U.S. Digital Service. And so this whole idea of the monolithic $10,000 report, listen, I remember when the days when you had a VMS system, mini computers, and every year digital equipment company would upgrade your operating system, and that cost $35,000, and you had to do it or the machines wouldn't run. So now the cloud brings back collaborative environments in which smart coders can very quickly collaborate, use open source, go to GitHub. There's lots of benefits of the cloud computing environment, both from a development standpoint and from a collaboration and operational standpoint. And so it's much more than an IT strategy. In the federal context, though, it's also part of a greater IT architecture, if you will. And the other elements besides cloud are data center proliferation. And so going back to the early days of the Obama administration, I think Kim mentioned this when we were talking at lunch, Vivek Kundra, you all know who he was, the legendary, had the data center consolidation initiative. Well, the fact is, Alice Rivlin, when she was running OMB early in the Clinton administration, also had a data center consolidation initiative. And in fact, I found a speech by Ronald Reagan from about 1983 that said, the federal government operates too many computers. I Googled it, found it, and I could never find it again. So this is an ongoing issue. But the fact is that, according to the most recent analysis of this, the federal government identified 10,000 data centers. You talk about a security and operational sloppy situation, and by data center it could be a closet, but if it has data in it, it's a data center. Some of them are big, some of them are small. So far they've closed 4,400 of them, and there's another 1,200 scheduled to be closed. So there has been real progress in closing nearly 5,600 data centers over the last couple of years. And so concomitant with that has been adoption of cloud, and there's been many, many examples in the federal government of cloud adoption. It started with email, now it's moving to more applications. Microsoft 365 is where the Justice Department itself is going, and as agencies decide to they can't modernize some of their applications, HUD, Department of Labor, VA, these are all agencies saddled with old COBOL code. They are unable somehow to extract the logic from that code and render it new code, so they start over. So that's why you're seeing also driving toward cloud adoption. So the third element of that, besides data center optimization, cloud is modernization. And so they're all tied as a part. As you know, the House just passed a bill, in the Senate it's questionable, to establish an IT modernization fund, a revolving fund, from which agencies could borrow money, modernize their systems, pay back the fund from some of the savings from those systems, and then therefore keep the revolving fund going. So that's kind of how cloud is working in the federal government. A couple of quick examples. I mentioned, the FBI has a terrible duplicative application problem. And so the CIO there, Gordon Bitko, wants to move to the DOJ super agency strategy of deduplicating applications and going to greater greater shared services. That's from the CIO there, Joe Klimovich. And so that leaves the FBI with what it calls its own IT, which is the shadow IT. And he's going to be working on that. And so there's cloud coming there too. I mentioned HUD is trying to get to the cloud. You know, in the federal government, they can't count the beans very well. And so some of the savings and paybacks are kind of fuzzy, but that's the way they're moving. So VA is doing it, HUD is doing it, Labor is doing it, Justice is going there, even the Homeland Security Department and some of the national security agencies heavily into the cloud. So I figure if it's good enough for the CIA, and they are heavy cloud users, and the Defense Information Systems Agency, then it's probably good enough for the rest of us.